Well, this is another edition of Wet Hair, Don't Care. It just depends, I guess, when I get around to doing my videos. On a day like today, I may not get to do them until the end of my day just because of what it's like. And so I am really in a great mood tonight. I feel really happy. I have had a full day, and the thing that is on my mind today is this phrase that I've taken from my beloved lately podcast I've been listening to, the Just Break Up Pod, which is fun and funny and all about relationship advice from two young people who are just super emotionally intelligent and do all kinds of great. They have a great rapport together, and it's just really fun. But Sierra DeMulder is one of the co-hosts, and she has this way of saying this phrase, and this is the phrase that's been in my mind all day. And she says it, I'm going to try to imitate her. She says, "Badass bitch," um, which is funny that I just did that on video. She's wonderful. And she often says that about women who write in and about herself and about whenever we need to just remind ourselves of our strength. The fact that we all just kind of live in this world, and this goes for men too. Obviously, we have a toxic masculinity that breaks men down all the time and adds shame and pressure on men. And women live with misogyny and internalized shame over our bodies and our identities. The fact that we can just kind of keep going and sometimes just do things that are really out of the box is to be celebrated. And so that's what's on my mind today. Obviously, let's see, last night was the Super Bowl, which of course I didn't watch that either. I never watch anything. But all over my social media is talk about these two badass bitches who are 43, Shakira, and J-Lo, who's 50, and I'm 50, who apparently just rocked everybody's entire world last night with their performances. And tonight I'm actually going to sit down and watch the whole thing because I keep seeing snippets of it, and I hear there's political stuff in there and all these, there's just so much going around. J-Lo is pole dancing, and everybody is, their minds are blown. And social media, again, is just full of all this talk about, oh my God, these old ladies are doing all this badass stuff. And it's just another reminder that age is just, kind of utter bullshit nowadays. If we take care of ourselves and we love ourselves, then, we can kind of do a whole lot of things without, again, if we can kind of let go of some of that expectation and shame and pressure. Anyway, and again, I know there's a lot of talk about culture and representation in those performances, and I love it. As someone who works with the Latinx community, I love that there was all this representation. I think I'm probably going to cry when I watch this tonight. I'm so excited. So when there's some symbolism of people in cages, children in cages, I love all this discussion because we need to have this discussion. And one thing that I found interesting today about these badass women and their performance was that I don't get into scraps on Facebook. I've got better things to do. But I did see where somebody posted about the performance, and there was a woman who commented on this post that was like, I am a mom, and we just happened to turn this on with my little daughter, right when the camera was on their asses. And I don't know that she used that word. She probably used the word booty or something. And she said, oh, I had to tell my daughter, oh my God, that's gross. And I'm so glad I could tell her that that's gross. That's not what's supposed to be on TV. And I just thought to myself, I had to take a breath. And I just commented back to her. I was like, Karen, not her name, of course, I would love to know what you find gross about a woman's backside. Like, what's gross about that? I think we have, as women in particular, we have so much body shame, and we raise our children to already start feeling ashamed of our bodies by calling our body parts gross. It just makes me sad. But in any case, so there's a lot swirling around about that, but I'm really excited that there's a lot of interesting conversation to be had. It's Monday, so I seem to have this idea, because I love structure, that I'm going to talk about being self-employed on Mondays. And so the thoughts really that have been floating around my brain are, that I kind of feel like a badass today. I've done a lot of things, and my day's been all over the place. I did supervision. I did an immigration session with a couple of really resilient people who have suffered through the trauma of poverty to become resilient and strong and grow a family and do things that a lot of people say they just can't do if they suffered the things they have. I came home, did some housework, had some lunch, went and sat in a coffee shop and did supervision paperwork that I need to do, picked up my son and went for a big workout. I've just felt like it's been a great day. And another thing that feels really exciting to me is that I'm really forcing myself to get where I'm uncomfortable in terms of this self-employed stuff. I've had to, this year for me is the year that I really want to start doing the work that I want to be doing, more mind-body skills work, more teaching, more therapy, and I'm really trying to do a little bit less immigration work because I've done it so long, and I think it's time for other people to do that, and I think I've done my share. But that takes a lot of effort on my part because that means steering my income away from the thing that's been the most productive for me, or lucrative, if you will, although that's a stretch, and to kind of go into more risky territory, and it feels scary. And another reason why I'm doing these videos is because I have to get more comfortable with putting myself out there in a way that's not what I've been doing. It's not my nature. I'm an introvert. I don't particularly like looking at myself. I don't really like talking about myself, even though you might find that surprising because I'm doing these videos, but it's not who I am. And I've really struggled with the idea of marketing because I don't like that. But to some degree, I have to do some of that. And so to that end, today I did something, I picked up something that I've been putting off for years. I finally, for the first time in like 10 years, got new business cards. And here's one. And they're two-sided. So one is about the mind-body skills groups and has a couple of QR codes, and the other is just more general. And I'm really excited about this because I did this all myself. Obviously, I didn't design this or whatever, but I initiated it, had some input on the design, blah, blah, blah. And these are going to help me because I'm going to start giving these to people and agencies that might benefit from having these mind-body skills group. And I'm going to continue to just force myself to get myself out there more. So that's exciting to me. And it feels just a tiny bit like I feel a little bit badass today. So I'm just happy, and I want to kind of celebrate that. And I survived the visit from my mother yesterday. We all did. Even my mom survived it, So anyway, life is good today. So the mind-body exercise that I want to do tonight is actually about success. Because this, like I said, this whole year for me is about trying to find success in some new ways. And anytime somebody is trying to do something completely new, a really useful exercise is to do some visualization work. And if somebody's working with a therapist or a coach or something like that, it's a lot easier sometimes to do this kind of work with that kind of leader or guide. But I think what I want to do, just to kind of come off of this day where I'm feeling kind of like, yay, I love being self-employed, even though it's making me kind of crazy and every day is different and it's a lot scary. I do want to continue to think about, what does success mean to me? And so visualization exercises are used by people who are trying to start something new of all kinds. They're very helpful for people who are working on anxiety, particularly panic attacks. So to get into a deep state, typically, of meditation, and that takes some practice, obviously, but to get into a deep state of meditation and then to just kind of allow your mind to visualize, usually, like I said, with the help of someone else, what does something look like to you? What would it look like to be able, for someone who is kind of trapped at home because of panic, what would it look like to open the door and step outside? What would it look like, to walk down to the sidewalk? What, et cetera, et cetera. And then kind of breathing through it and using tools and skills that they've ideally been practicing for a while to kind of get moving. But starts with visualization, and that can go for, a lot of people use visualization for fear of flying, like visualizing in a series of exercises a successful flight. Public speaking. So, and there's so many ways to use it, and a lot of ways are more, like I like to say, woo-woo than that. For me, like, I'm still trying to kind of figure out, what does success mean to me? What is it that I see myself doing successfully? So tonight I am going to sit and I'm going to breathe just like I've been breathing in all of these exercises, but then I'm going to try my best to just sit and close my eyes and visualize success. And I think the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to ask myself, as I kind of breathe, what is success? What is success? What is success? So it's the same thing that I've done in other exercises where it's like a journaling prompt. But instead of journaling, I think that I'm going to sit and breathe and try to visualize that. And I think what I might do, as I've mentioned earlier in another video, is I think I'm going to just do some recordings that are just strictly meditations without the chit chat, and this would be a really good one to do separate. So I may try tomorrow to actually do a recording of a guided meditation to visualize, in this case, success, rather than kind of practice that out tonight, because it's pretty long. But if anybody happens to watch this and they want to just kind of play around with it until perhaps I do a separate video, that is what it would entail, is really just sitting quietly, grounding yourself, breathing, just like I've done in every video where we just focus on the breath. And then doing that for a set period of time, it really does help if you've had a little tiny bit of practice with just breathing and just becoming relaxed and meditating. Again, that word for people can spark some anxiety in itself, but just sitting in a relaxed state. And then, again, keeping one's eyes closed and just visualize what would, for me, like, this is what I'm looking at. What does success look like? What would it look like if I felt successful? And just using whatever visions come to my mind as a guide, or just an interesting thing to spark some thoughts that I might journal about tomorrow, or so that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to actually lead it here because it's pretty long, but I'll at least describe it. So, and to celebrate the badass women that performed last night, the song I'm going to add to my playlist is Shakira's Waka Waka, This Time for Africa song, which I had to remind myself, I looked it up. It was the 2010 World Cup, official World Cup song when the World Cup was held in South Africa. And I love this song. It's on my running playlist because it's just so much fun and it's totally motivating. Obviously, it was written, Shakira wrote it along with one of her writing partners, and it was all about motivating the people playing football, i.e. soccer, to go for a win. And I love it. I run to it. And I think it fits well with this kind of idea of, let's talk about what it is when we feel like a badass, and when we want to celebrate badass people who are out there, particularly badass women. This song just kind of fits, because that was one of those badass women last night. And just as a reminder, as I mentioned, Shakira is 43, and her family actually immigrated to Colombia originally from Lebanon. And if you know anything about the Lebanese people, they've had a lot of displacement and a lot of trauma in their country. And they first came to New York, apparently, but then they settled in Colombia. So she was born there, but she was named Shakira, which is a word in Arabic that I think means gratitude. In any case, so she is a very multicultural. She has intersectional identities that she likes to talk about. And anyway, this song just feels like a great representation of that. I would say, just based on the little Wikipedia that I did on it, just to be able to sound somewhat informed about the song that I listen to so often, there was controversy because there was some cultural appropriation concerns, and people in South Africa really wanted a South African artist to have the official song. But the song does have a South African artist in it, and so there's some legitimate concerns there, but regardless, it is a great little song, and I'm going to add it. So. Yay for Badass Monday.